Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. Now I'm going to make this video for my city folk friends. And this is going to be for, if the shit hits the fan and you live in the city. Now I'll probably break it up into a series, a line of videos. But anyway, what I'm looking at is the different kinds of disasters that could happen, and you're living in the city. When I was 14 years old, I lived in the city, Topeka. It was, let's see, 1960, what was it, 64, something like that. And it was a very big tornado. At that time, it was one of the biggest. And I was on a motorcycle when the tornado came in, and it came into Topeka and it cut Topeka in half. It was about a block and a half from my house, and my family owned a restaurant, and on the other side of the path of the tornado, about probably about 4 or 5 blocks, was the restaurant. So, and it was probably over a mile wide, the tornado. So it was a nasty tornado. And at 14, I wasn't thinking a whole lot on disasters and stuff like that. But like I say, I was on a motorcycle. And the first thing I did is went to the house. And I was on the same side. I didn't know it at the time because there's no communications at that time. Within minutes after a disaster, you don't have any communications. So I got there, and everybody was all right there at the house. And then, so the next thing was, and like I say, it was less than a block from the house, and they didn't even know the tornado was there. So anyway, so I decided, well, I'm going to go to the restaurant. I tried to go the normal way that I regularly go, and of course the roads were all blocked. So I had to take side roads and back streets and stuff like that. And it ended up, I had 2 flat tires on my motorcycle. So most of it was on foot. So I made it to the restaurant, and got to the restaurant. My dad was supposed to be at the restaurant, and he was gone. He left already. But it's okay. I know he was okay. So from that, I went back into the path of the tornado, and I started pulling people out of houses, and well, mainly apartments. I was really around the apartment buildings, and I was pulling people out of where the apartment buildings collapsed, and I was pulling people out of that. The ones that had any kind of movement and were conscious were the ones that I was helping. I say, I'm 14, I'm not all that smart. So if you holler, I'll come help you. If you don't holler, I'm not gonna come help you. So, but that's what I ended up doing. Okay, and then, the way I look at it, on any kind of a disaster, the number one problem will be the immediate family. So first things first, you have to find out if the family's okay. Now I can say something that's really cool and it's going to work, but it's not reality. And now that is to have, wherever you work, you have a place, either where you work, depending on where you work, or close to where you work, where you can leave a note or leave a message or something saying that you're okay. And it'll be the same thing at the house. But you got to remember, this, whatever the bad thing is, may take out the place that you're going to say, well, we'll meet across the street over here. Well, and you find out across the street it no longer exists. So that's why I say reality and really the planning is there's a big difference when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, but you do need to have a place close to the house, or another house, or if you're living in a residential area, another house where people can meet up. I would say that would be probably the headquarters for your three-man militia. It's close, within 2 or 3 blocks, 4 blocks from your house. There'll be a place where you and a couple of your friends get together, and so that's the place where you're going to leave a message. So you'll say, "We're okay," and now that's the place. Okay, and same thing at work. Okay, we're okay from work, and now they know. At least they know you're alive. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay there and wait for the family to come gather you, or are you going to move? Like in my particular situation, I missed my father when I got to the restaurant. It took me, I think it took me, most of it was on foot, and it was about a mile, and it took me about 2 hours to get over there. It took him over 7 hours to drive to get from the restaurant to the house. So but like I said, I knew the restaurant was okay, and they told me my father was heading back to the house, and I already been to the house. So I knew all this stuff was okay. So that's why I say it'll be a part of your three-man militia that's local, close to you, that will be the place. And also, talking about that will be the place where, now we already know, most of the stuff I talk about is country folk, because I'm a country folk. But in the city, it's going to be a lot of the same stuff, but just in a smaller scale. Like I say, you're going to have a place that your three-man militia would feel comfortable in. And once you find this, well, it's probably going to be one of the houses of one of these people. You're going to have some food there, some weapons, and communication devices, all the stuff we talked about. You're gonna need it, first aid, all that stuff. You're going to need at that particular place. That is going to be the place that's going to be close to your home, in which anybody that's at the house will go to that particular location. And the reason they're going to that location, they're going to be safe. Like I talk about the country folk. Country folk, if something happens, you're supposed to go to the house. Well, if nobody's home, you go to the neighbor. And why is that? Because we know our neighbors. And we know the neighbor's armed. We know the neighbor's got food. We know the neighbor will take care of you until I get there. So this is the same type of thing that we're doing with the three-man militia in your house or close to your house if you're a city folk. And okay, now, so the people at the house are going to be there at that place. And now if that place gets wiped out, like I say, I don't know. Maybe you're going to have to stay at your house. And if they're both wiped out, this is going to be a problem. Okay, now, don't think there's a way to cover all of the things that could happen. Like I say, I'm half Chinese. My father left China the late 1920s. In the 30s, the Japanese took over China. All communication stopped. You've probably seen movies and stuff like that where they will take pictures and put pictures up on the wall. We're looking for so-and-so. Or there'll be notes on the wall saying, I'm Mike Maul and I'm safe and I'm going to, Cousin Pam's house. So these are the things, this is why they put those notes up. There's times when it's so damn bad, there's no way in hell you're going to prepare for it. So, in other words, if you may not have a safe place to go, you're just going to have to play it by ear. Now we're right back to having a backpack that is packed and ready for bad situations. And city folk, you definitely have to have that backpack. You really should have one in your car, and you definitely need them in your house. And that's for each person in the family. And I'm sure there's lots of stuff on the internet that tells you what kind of stuff you're going to need and stuff like that. And if you look at my stuff, you can go to I got a ready list on my hotspot ready list on my website, nostressmike.com, and it's got a list of all kinds of stuff too. You just got to find out what applies to you and what's important to you. But there's going to be some things that you just can't, don't be with that. And that's going to be weapons, some dehydrated food, and that's because they're light and they take up less space. This stuff needs to be in the backpack. Guns, weapons, knives, be handguns. City folk need handguns, and the reason is when you start walking around with an AK or a long gun in the city, you're looking for problems. So the best thing to do is have a handgun and concealed, and you're just working your way through the town. So that's why you do that. So let's see, gold and silver, and the nice thing would be those copper coins that I've showed you. That you need things because you're going to need to buy things as you're going, and cash. So you have the cash. So that's why I think it's funny when people got all their money in their bank. Well, it's not going to do you no damn good now. So that's why in your house you should have a stack of cash that you can grab when you go to. And then of course first aid. And we talk about first aid. You have to have enough first aid for you. You have to carry enough for you, and that's in each backpack. So you got enough for each person in the family. Okay, and the other stuff, you can check that stuff out for yourself. But I think that's pretty much covered the basics that you just have to have. And now that's even unless they're really like toddlers and little kids like that. But now my kids, they could shoot at 5 years old. They could shoot a gun. So I mean, I would give them if your kid is wise enough to handle a handgun, they need a handgun in their backpack too. And then, but I say, so you need all that kind of stuff. So at least you are ready to go to your militia's strong point. And when you get there and you find out they're gone, well, then now that's going to start another story. But right now, let's just say you get there and you just stay there. Now you're part of the group. You know you have food, you have shelter, you have weapons, you have leadership, you have people that take control of the thing, and you can back everybody up that's there. So that's why you're doing it like that. Okay, now, and you just wait, because there's nothing you can do. If I say, now, if you've got children and stuff, you don't want to leave your kids and go off looking for your spouse. You know what I mean? So, just your spouse is just going to have to work their way to that safe house. Okay, and now it's basically the same thing when it comes to work. Like I say, you won't be able to do the work so much, but depending on where you're working at, stuff like that. But remember, like I said, you've got your backpack in the trunk of your car, so you still got what you need to get your way to the safe house. That's if it's this type of a disaster. So, and then once you get with the family, now this whole thing is just to get with the family, because no plan can go into effect until you have the security of the family. And if you've lost some of them, they're plain dead, well then, that you don't need to worry about them anymore. Now the responsibility is for the ones that are still living. What are you going to do with them? Now we'll talk about what are you going to do with your family after you've gathered your family and you're a city folk. Okay, that'll be on the next one.